I tried to make this video last night, but couldn't get through it. I'm not sure I'll be able to get through it today. It's about Steve Jobs. I was having lunch yesterday with a colleague, former colleague from Apple, and he asked me if I knew anything about Steve's health, and I didn't. But when I got back to my car and looked at Twitter, I saw the news that he had resigned. The resignation letter was simple and direct, brief and brave, and this is what Steve wrote. I have always said, if there ever came a day when I could no longer meet my duties and expectations as Apple's CEO, I would be the first to let you know. Unfortunately, that day has come. I hereby resign as CEO of Apple. I would like to serve, if the board sees fit, as chairman of the board, director, and Apple employee. I remember a meeting with Steve in the early summer of 1984. He had been wondering about what keeps companies in the spotlight. Polaroid and Xerox had both been spectacular companies with spectacular, world-changing innovations. And somehow they had moved out of the spotlight. They were still churning out products, but no one thought of them as important anymore. And Steve was wondering how Apple could stay in the spotlight. He almost didn't get the chance to find out. Here's what people may have forgotten about Macintosh. When it launched, it captured the imagination, but it failed to capture the market. It wasn't that useful. The Mac flopped pretty hard. Sales tanked. Apple was in trouble. The CEO that Steve had brought in a couple of years earlier, John Sculley, and the board lost patience with Steve and pretty much drove him out of the company. In Steve's absence, Apple regained its footing and did some very exciting work, and then spectacularly lost its footing. Projects that went nowhere, resources squandered, boneheaded decisions, poor execution, a product line that was indecipherable. The company was circling the drain. I remember being at a party in the summer of 1996. It was a bunch of Apple executives and ex-executives, middle managers, directors, vice presidents. And we were all sitting around, and at one point someone asked, if you were in charge, what would you do to save Apple? And nobody in that room could come up with a convincing answer. But the following year we learned the answer. Bring back Steve Jobs. He ruthlessly simplified the product line, stopped chasing markets where Apple had no chance, brought back the old advertising agency, promoted or brought in a great team of managers to help him run the company, and something else. iPod, the iTunes store, the Apple stores, iPhone, iPad. Even if you're an Apple hater, you're using products that are imitations of innovations that Apple first popularized. Before Steve, Windows, menus, and a mouse were exotic lab demos. Before Steve, a multi-touch UI was an exotic lab demo. Before Steve, great typography required going out to a typesetter. Before Steve, phones sucked. Before Steve, online music was all theft all the time. Before Steve, the standard in computer design was ugly. Before Steve, tablets were successful only in Star Trek. Steve's view of the world is very binary. Something is either brilliant, the best, or it's crap. Sheer, utter crap. And he doesn't use the word crap. I like the purity of that. I want to say thanks, Steve, for building the company that gave me the best job I'll ever have, for saving that company and building the products that are the best products I ever used. And I want to thank Steve above all for setting an example of courage, persistence, and following your heart. I have every confidence that Apple will remain in the spotlight and at the forefront of innovation for a long time to come. Until next time, I'm Nicola.